Hello, Bhupinder. Okay, sir, you start. We will do the introduction later on, no problem.
Good morning, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Bhupinder?
Am I audible,
Bhupinder,
sir? Good morning.
Can you hear me? Yes. Very good. Very good. Welcome. Welcome. You are.
Okay. Thank you,
Very
sir.
good. Dr. Deshmukh, you can start. You can start.
You can start now.
Okay.
No problem. You can start.
Just a minute. Just
Thank you, sir. Okay.
I'm very, very happy to have Dr. Renu Agrawal with us today. And she will speak to us a very interesting topic in food technology. She is a very well-known and skilled person. She is member of so many national committees, and she has got a list of publications which will be read out by Mr. Bhupinder. So over to Bhupinder. Please do the introduction.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Savanjit, sir. Before starting, I would like to say 2 lines that success always belongs to word we, never I. कि जो सफलता है वो हमेशा हमसे होती है, मैं से कभी नहीं होती। और इसी उद्देश्य से हमारी माइक्रोबायोलॉजिस्ट सोसाइटी इंडिया भी काम कर रही है। सबको एक साथ लेकर के साइंटिफिक एरिया डेवलप हो रहे हैं, उनके रिगार्डिंग टाइम टू टाइम सेशन स्टॉक हो रहे हैं, और उसी रिलेटेड हम आज फिर यहाँ पे इस प्लेटफॉर्म पे इकट्ठा हुए हैं। सो गुड मॉर्निंग वन एंड ऑल. On behalf of MBSI, I Bhupinder Sharma welcome you all for wonderful panel talk on topic hazardous operating procedure in food industry. Before starting with, I would like to introduce some of the eminent personalities who are present with us today. First of all, I would like to give a very warm welcome to Honorable Dr. Arvind Deshmukh, President MBSI India. Sir is very kind and very sportive. He is the strongest pillar of MBSI. Such platform to enhance our knowledge regarding recent development in the field of microbiology, biotechnology, and in many other associated fields. Secondly, with great pleasure, I would like to welcome Dr. Savanjit Singh, State President, SI, Chandigarh Tri-City. Dr. Savanjit has many achievements to his name. His name is listed in top 2% global scientists for 3 consecutive years. He served in MTCC and Gene Bank, now the first IDA in India. He was awarded with Loyola Environmental Award. He was the former head environmental biotechnology and microbial biochemistry, CSIR IM Tech. He received Lifetime Achievement Award 2022 by St. Xavier College, Ranchi. He was member in 2 WFCC committees and also the member of Task Force, National Biodiversity Authority, Chennai. His publications are in high impact factor journals, and the articles are highly cited in the literature, cited around 17,000 times. And sir is panelist for our today's discussion, and it's an thank you, sir, for being here with us today. And finally, with a great pleasure, I would like to introduce our keynote speaker, Dr. Renu Agrawal, for today's talk. We welcome you, ma'am. Dr. Renu was the ex-chief scientist at CSIR, CFTRI, Mysore, India, and is also rural program coordinator for outreach activity at CFTRI. She has over 20 patents to her name with 7 plus publications in international and national journals. She presented more than 160 papers in various national and international conferences and delivered more than 800 talks. She has guided students for MSc, in biotechnology and microbiology. She has represented India as a team leader taking scientific delegation for the Asia Meet at Indonesia, Bali, nominated by DST, Government of India. She had her PhD from University of Rajasthan, and her area of specialization include biotransformation and probiotics. Her research involves lactic acid bacteria, yeast, and bacillus as probiotic, inhibiting harmful disease and reduce the use of antibiotics, improving health in the society, and has developed cleaner probiotic technologies used by the common man. The microbial processes of her team on ready to make idli and dosa better, the most downloaded processes from CFTRI. As Rural Program Coordinator, she led CSIR CFTRI for CSIR 800 to give a better quality of life to 800 million people via her scientific and technological intervention. Many awareness camps, demonstration of technology were dispatched around the country. He has been passionate about farmers and has organized many national level conferences for all India farmer and women farmers. She has also been proactive to show them alternative cropping with high nutrient millet crop. She has been awarded at multiple scientific associations. Some honorable mention are Scientific Fellow Award as FAMI, FNABS, FSAB, FISBT, and she has been awarded Karamveer Chakra by Rex UN, both bronze and silver. Also Best Scientist by NABS, Women Achiever from International Guild of Women Achiever, Reflection Excellence Award from All India Association of Rotary Inner Wheel, Kisan Ratna Puruskar from JCI International, Abdul Kalam, also JCI International and Abdul Kalam Lifetime Award. Also received Nari Shakti Award from Random Kindness and the Ministry of Women and Children, and Bharat Shiksha Gaurav Puruskar, to name a few, and many more achievements to her name. Ma'am, your achievements are encouraging young lads like me to achieve something in my life as well. And before without much delay, we will have to start with your presentation. So I am stopping here and invite you to present, and it is followed by a discussion with our panelist, Dr. Savanjit Singh. Sir, thank you, ma'am. Thank you for listening me. And now over to Renu, ma'am, for the proceeding. Thank you.
A very good morning to each one of you. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Swaranjit Singh, who has personally invited me, and Dr. Deshmukh, whom I know very well. I would also like to thank Dr. Bhupinder for his kind words. So I will just share my screen, my slides.
Please off your mics. Hello. Please off your mic.
Can you see the slide? Can you see the slide, please?
Yes,
ma'am.
we can see your slide. We can see your
So
slide.
today I'm going to talk to you on HACCP programs and why these standard operating procedures are important in a food industry. I'm sure, whenever, we finish our MSc or food technology or whatever, we would like to enter into a food industry. But before entering a food industry, it is very important for us to know what are the things which are required by a food industry. What are the SOPs, means standard operating procedures? What is a HACCP program? What is the concept of a HACCP program? Today, we are going to look into each thing point by point so that, these youngsters, when they enter a food industry, they are well versed with what all points they have to look into. So we look into the HACCP concept, to give assure of food safety, starting from the raw material to the end product. It is very important. I think some background sound is there.
Yes.
Important to identify.
People should actually off the mics. Please off your mics.
Yeah. Otherwise, host can switch off for everybody. You can mute.
Okay, Dr. Deshmukh, please.
So it is very important also to identify what are actually the food safety problems. When we talk about food safety, I think all of us are microbiologists. We will know immediately that these are the pathogenic, either bacteria or virus or fungi or whatever it is. So it is very, very important to identify what is the problem, then how, and where can we control these problems. We have to describe what we should do and train the personnel before implementing and recording it. Because recording documentation is very, very important, as I think all of us, we understand that. बहुत ज्यादा वो बैकग्राउंड आ रहा है.
Dr. Mohandas, please off your mic.
Yes,
Dr.
sir.
Mohandas, please off your mic.
Okay.
So as nowadays, we have lot of international trades. So it is very important that there is cooperation between different countries and have good surveillance systems. Everybody wants, food which is very good in nutrition, which is hygienic, and which has health standards. I'm sure when we go to the market and buy a ready-made food or any item, we look at the label and see a backside. Oh, it is FSSAI approved. Oh, it has the HACCP, or it is with the GMP practices. So it is very, very important to look into each factor, how we can reach that, and what is the certification, because certification is very important. If a food industry and manufacturer has not taken the certification, I'm sure many of us who are educated and aware of the fact, we will leave that particular product and go for another one which is certified. So if we look into the key components, it's very important to have good manufacturing practices. We will look into what do you mean by good manufacturing practices or GMP. And also it should address at each stage, starting from receiving the food product, which is from the agriculture or animal product in non-veg products. So all these things, it has to be addressed starting from receiving the raw material to include the indirect hazards also, and looking into the SOPs, which is standard operating procedures. Now, if we look into the history of HACCP programs, we see that, initially it was in 1960s when NASA was taking a mission to the space. Then they approached Pillsbury and they told them that, oh, we don't want any defect in the program. And the food should be very, very good and it should be hygienic. When they came to Pillsbury, then they developed a concept for NASA that was in 1959. And as the time progressed, it was in 1971. You can imagine from 59, I want to show you the chronology, how to have a system, how many years does it take? So it was in 1971 that US National Conference was there. And then we brought the first mention of HACCP program was brought in 71. After 59, when the first NASA for Pillsbury made a concept for NASA. Then it was in 1972 that Pillsbury along with they had an application because United Nations National Conference on Food Protection, they made a mention that yes, HACCP program should be there. So Pillsbury was approached, and then they had a concept of HACCP program. Then it was in 1973 when the HACCP was adopted, especially for cans. You must have seen, the cans sometimes they get bloated up because of Clostridium botulinum. So because of low acid and the pathogenic contamination, it was very much in picture, and people wanted, the manufacturer was so much in problem, and also the consumers, and there was recall. You know what is a recall? The whole batch, they have to give it back. So it was in 1973 that they found that yes, this low acid can should have food regulations. And then WHO, the World Health Organization, also said yes, HACCP program should come into the picture in 1980. Somebody wants to get admitted, Bhupinder. Then in 1985, the Food and Nutrition Board, then they said that yes, it should be recommended for products to have a safety system. In 89, the US National Advisory Committee was established on microbiological criteria for food, because it is microbiological contamination. Most of them are microbiological pathogens which are spoiling the products in an industry or something like that. So that they updated the HACCP system, and in 1990, the United Nations Codex, the food laws, it is an international codex system which started HACCP program internationally. And then in 1997, the principles for HACCP and the application, how to go about it, was set up. In 1998, the FAO and the WHO, they started providing the guidance for regulation of the assessment of HACCP program. Then in 1998, HACCP became a mandatory. You imagine, we started in 1959, and in 98, it becomes mandatory for large meat and poultry manufacturers. In 98, it became mandatory for small meat and poultry manufacturers. And in 99 May, it became, to have the evaluation, monitoring, enforcement, and also it became for milk shipment for HACCP program. In 99, it became mandatory for frozen desert foods. And in 2000, for mandatory for small meat poultry manufacturers. 2002 for juice, especially the juices, they give a lot of problem because of the low acid. And even for the small business, initially it was only for the big manufacturers, but later on they started it mandatory for small business houses. 2003, FAO and WHO together, they made the guidelines for HACCP programs. And in 2004, the principles were set up in EU. Actually, if you look at it, we started in 1959, and it was only in 2006 when legal requirements were made. Worldwide use of HACCP programs for food safety legislation came into force. So what do we mean by these regulations? A substance which is either processed, semi-processed, or even raw. It can be even raw, but which is intended for human consumption. It can include drinks, it can include chewing gums, and it also includes cosmetics and tobacco today. If we look into the important issues are socially, and also because of the international trade globally. Let us look into the social issues. It is the safety of the food product, the quality of the food product, consumption, the consumer protection, and what are the food hazards. These food hazards can be physical, they can be chemical, or they can be biological. Biological are our pathogens. And global issues are international trade. See the products we are importing, we have got an imported drink, or this, it is very good. Or even Indian products are going outside, especially our Alfonso mango and so many mango products and many more. The Codex came into the picture where it is called as an international law. And then SPS and TBT agreements, which I will come a little later, these all looked into how important issues are there to have a HACCP program. And the objective is to protect the human health. Everybody is talking about the health. Not only human health, it is the public health, also the animal health, because animal feed, the poultry feed, so many things, you know. So the objective is to protect the health, protect the consumers from unsanitary, unwholesome, and mislabeled. Sometimes the labeling is not proper. So labeling is very important, and adulteration, allergies, you know, so many objectives are there, and contribution to the economic development. I'm sure each manufacturer and each country wants to have a better economy. So the whole thing goes into the economic development also. If we are talking about SPS and TBT agreements, it allows the countries to have their own standards. Say, for example, America, or say, for example, Argentina, or let us take any country of Europe, say Germany, or even India. They can set their own standards. They can have their regulations, but they should be based on science, applied for the protection of human, protection of animal, or even a plant life for the health. You know, what do you mean by the plant life? When you are in the plant is in the soil, even there it is very, very important what type of a water it is getting, what type of a soil it is there. That is why, you know, the government is coming with the soil card. Some of the farmers are taking soil card just like a formality. But what I feel is, please take it very, very seriously, because the pH of the soil, what are the pathogens in the soil, what are they taking up, you know, how is the soil, how is the water coming, because the water will have the heavy metal ions also, which can be taken up by the soil. There must be pathogens which can be taken up by the soil and the plant, and that is what the human is having the consumption, the consumer. So every small point will come into the HACCP program, which is very, very important. TBT was, you know, the agreement which was signed in Tokyo in 73, and after that the Uruguay also signed it in 86, between 86 and 94. These are mainly to have the basic rights, the harmonization between the countries, intra-country equivalence, the risk assessment. Where can the risk be? Like I'm telling you now, you know, the agriculture, it is so much important, so much risky. We cannot take soil just like that. We cannot take water just like that. We cannot think about, you know, so many small things are required when a farmer is having the agriculture or growing up the plants. The risk assessment is very, very important. Notification, you know, if you have, say, for example, you have looked into the pH of the soil, or you have looked into the water, what are the pathogens there? Notification, the documentation is very, very important. And then the transparency. It should be very, very transparent. Regionalization, because sometimes, you know, they feel, okay, let us not write this one, forget about this and write the smaller ones, or maybe the colony number they can reduce. That is very, transparency is very, very important, because the whole HACCP program, the whole product, you know, which we are giving it to the market depends on the transparency. The dispute settlement, so many times when the recall is there, how do you settle the dispute? You can settle the dispute only when everything is transparent, and implementation and oversight. All these things are very, very important. Now we are looking about HACCP program globally and locally, both, because it is very, very important. In a country, how is the product? And then when we are exporting it, how is the product? So when we talk about food control, we see that it is very, very mandatory regulatory activity to provide consumer protection, ensure food safety, confirm the safety and quality requirement, even in the label according to the law. It should cover all food produced, processed, and marketed within the country, either it is or it is imported. So such systems should have a statutory basis, and it should be mandatory in nature. When we talk about strengthening nations' systems, it is important to integrate farm to table concept. You know, we cannot leave the soil or the processing processes or the labeling or the final product. It has to be farm to table, as we call it, you know, farm to fork. And it should have the risk analysis, risk assessment, hazard identification, characterization, exposure assessment, risk characterization. Then, how do you manage the risk? Risk management should be there, and communication. It's very, very important to communicate, either document or something, for a manager to look into that. Transparency is very important, and regulatory impact assessment, willingness to pay for reduced risk. If it's a very reduced risk, then, manufacturer says, okay, we do not recall and we can pay you for that, which is called as willingness to pay. Or if it is high problem, then they have to take it back, which is we call it as a recall, and they have to pay. Like so many cars nowadays, even cars, they are having a recall, if you would have seen on the TV. And the cost of illness, because see, if so many people, say for example, there is a contamination of Staph aureus, or there is a contamination of E. coli, as we are microbiologists. So what happens? So many people are getting ill. They have to go to the hospital. Medical costs will be there. So everything has to be looked into that. How much cost for recall is there? What is the cost of illness, which will cover the lifetime medical cost? Every factor has to be looked into. And multiple agency system or single agency, and it should be an integrated system. When we talk about Codex is what? It is called as a food law. You must be all aware or remembering about this Maggi noodles, when they had a high metal ions, and then they said we are going to send it to laboratory, and it came to CFTRI, because CFTRI has an international Codex lab, and then only it will be approved. Very, very important. I think there is some background noise. Can you please stop this background noise? Can this background noise be stopped, please? Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Can
Please unmute. Please unmute your mics.
No, they have to mute, sir.
Stop
They have to
talking.
mute.
Okay, I'll do it. Okay.
They have to mute it, and somebody wants to come in. Raj
Yeah.
Kundra. So when we are talking about this Codex lab, I think you remember about the Maggie tail. So this is very much necessary. Why? What does the Codex aim for? What do you mean by Codex Commission? It protects the consumer health, ensures fair trade. It also depends on the trade of international trade, because this is a global body. So it ensures a fair trade. It promotes. No, because if I speak, there is no idea. There is so much noise. People cannot hear me properly.
So should I unmute all? Should I mute all?
Mute all except me.
Okay, just hold on. Okay, now I'll unmute you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we
Okay.
can hear you.
So the main aim of Codex Lab is because, it is an international global body. So it needs ensure fair trade between the countries. It promotes coordination of all food standards. It can be intergovernmental, or it can be non-governmental organization. An intergovernmental body with a current membership, it has of 165 governments. And it is open to FAO and WHO members. Not able to, the slide is not moving.
You try again.
Yeah,
Go up and down.
Yes. It's not moving. 1 second. One second.
Yes, okay.
It's not moving.
You try to put the full screen and see.
No, I will exit the full screen.
Okay.
Now is it, can you see?
Let me see. 1 minute.
No, I think it is not showing.
Yeah, I can see now.
Now
Okay.
it's moving. Just
Yeah, now it's coming. Yes.
Yes.
So when we talk about food legislation, what do you mean by food laws? What do you mean by food legislation? It's a complete body of laws, regulations, standards, which will establish the broad principles for food control in a country. Say for example, they say fight back. This was established only in 2006, starting from the cleaning of the material. It can be an animal or it can be a plant, separating it, cooking it, and chilling it. So that every step, the food law should be there. Then there is a World Organization for Animal Health, which is called as OIE. This is the main objective is to have the health standards for the animals, to contribute food safety and food security. People who eat non-vegetarian, say for example, the chicken or the pork or the meat, all these things, they involve animal, and there are so many animal diseases. So it is very, very important to check that animal is not diseased at every stage, starting from rearing the animal to the final product. Contribute to food safety and food security, to promote animal welfare through science-based approach. Everything has to be science-based. They have to plate it out. They have to do PCR. All these things have to be looked into to prevent animal diseases from spreading around the world. So the need is there for a food safety assurance method. The foodborne diseases are widespread. The emergence of food diseases are there. And people are becoming aware that what we are eating should have good health effect. It should not cause us any disease. And new food technologies and new methods, processing methods are there. People are making them at a mass scale level. So that is what is causing a lot of diseases. A survey was done in US where they found the bacteria like Campylobacter, Listeria, Salmonella, Shigella, E. coli, Vibrio, Yersinia, and in parasites Cryptosporidium and Cyclospora, they had high population in the products, which has to be protected. There is a need for an effective food safety and assurance method. So people should know how many number of pathogens are present when the product has been sealed. The mass industrialization of the production of the product, every step, that is why surveillance is important, and changing lifestyle. Now people, the couple is working. The lady also of the house is working. So they want to go for ready-made foods, ready to use or ready to cook food. So it is very, very important that those foods are very clean and hygienic. And also they are for the increased international trade. So effective food HACCP program needs mainly the common sense to prevent preventive considerations, because what they say, prevention is better than cure. So can we have prevention and let us not go to the cure, and emphasis on getting the process right from the start. Again, it is not moving. 1 second.
I think there is some problem. Yeah, it'll be all right. Try again.
Yeah. Can you see the slide?
Yes.
I will go like this only instead of slideshow.
Okay. Okay.
Let me see if I go review slideshow. Can you see?
This is quite all right. Quite all right. Yeah.
Okay. So the thing is, assurance to the consumer should be through the whole food chain. If we talk about the flow chart, I will tell you why this flow chart is very necessary. When we youngsters go into a food industry, first thing what you have to do is prepare a food chart, a flow sheet of the food chart, starting from receiving, from where the material has come. Are they good vendors? That is again very, very important. What is the danger zone? How you're storing the raw material, how the preparation is going on, how it is getting cooked, what is the final product, and how it is getting packaged. Packaging is a very, very important field, and how it is getting served. If we are talking about the stakeholders involved, stakeholders are not only government, but starting from the farmers. It can be an agricultural farmer, it can be an animal rearing farmer, the manufacturers, and the consumers. Why manufacturers need HACCP program? That's not coming. I think it's taking time to prevention of food illness, more efficient QA system, protection of reputation. Because see, if something, we have a very big, say, for example, McDonald's, and, they says that reputation is gone, reduction of losses due to food recall, and reduction of cost due to food analysis. Other advantages. Are to prevent the hazards at the source, record keeping, and employing the food safety laws is very, very important. So there are 7 principles of HACCP programs. Conduct a hazard analysis, determine the critical control point. CCP is what? Critical control points. Establish the critical limit. I will tell you the difference. Critical control point is different from critical limit. Establish a monitoring system. Establish corrective actions. Establish verification procedure, and establish documentation. Now, if we look into the first, these are the 7 principles, as I told you. First thing is identify what are the hazards. First of all, we should know what are the hazards. So when you enter the food industry, you look into that if you're a manager or whatever, if you are the procedure manager. Then second is determine the critical control points. Is it, say, physical, pH, time, temperature, or is it biological, it is a pathogen, or is it a chemical, say, for example, some metal contamination or some sanitizer also, sometimes it gets into the system or something like that. So look into what is the critical control point. Then establish the critical limit. What do you mean by critical limit? Say, for example, your system is working at, you are trying to, say, grow lactic acid bacteria, which that, what pH you require. Say, for example, you require a pH of, say, 6.5 or something like that. Maybe you can go 1 or 2 points here and there. So that is your limit. But you should know that, no, it should not go to pH 7. That is the limit. So you have to stop much before that. So establish the critical limit, monitor and establish the procedures, have a corrective action. Now you have monitored. You have to monitor that is it going with our critical limit or not. Establish the corrective action immediately. Nowadays, we have very good biosensors and sensors, say, for example, the pH control or the temperature control, or even there can be an alert. Say, for example, the temperature goes up or down, you get a red light or something like that. Immediately you should have a corrective action that we have got an alert and we should have a corrective action. So all these things, when you're entering into our industry, it is very important to see and establish a verification procedure. And again, after some time, you have taken a corrective action. Yes, verify, is it happening or no? So verification is very important, and record keeping. So how to assemble this HACCP system? It is not an easy thing that, we know that 7 things are there and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I have gone and I have checked and I have done that. It is very important to have a HACCP team, because one person cannot do this program. It is very, very important to assemble a HACCP team. And how to go about that team also, I will tell you. Describe the product. What type of a product? Are you making a product, say, for example, a plant product, animal product, or is it a cosmetic product, or is it, you have to describe your product, identify what is the use, who is using it. Is it sometimes, it is very, very important to look into that they should not have allergens. Where is this going? What is the age group taking it? So many things. So what is the intended use? Construct a flow diagram, on-site verification of the flow diagram, list all potential hazards. Hazard analytical control points, determine CCPs, establish the critical limit, as I told you, monitor them, have corrective action, and verify, keep verifying them after some time. So how do I go about the team? Now, say, for example, you are a manager and you have to get a team. How do I get a team? Starting from the raw material, you need expertise of each, and expertise comes where? When they have experience of the raw material, from where the raw material is coming, how is the quality of the raw material. So you should have technical knowledge, when you are having your team, check it out. That is my technical team having that knowledge or no? Because just like that, we cannot say, oh, technician, we can take that. It's not possible, because they should have the expertise of that. We can be a success in an industry if we look into each step. HACCP programs takes care of each step. How you are going to, if you're a manager or you're going to work, each point, you should look into the thing. Operation activities, even the equipments, engineering equipments have to be looked into from the HACCP point of view. You have say, for example, a big cooker or HP heating plates or centrifuges or pipelines. It has to be looked into. Even the pipelines have to be checked if there is any contamination or not. The equipment has to be checked if it has any physical or chemical or biological contamination or not. So the whole process line has to be checked, for which one needs expertise. The finished product, the hazard expertise. Hazard also one should need an expertise for that, and the environment, because the building is very big. How is the premises? That is also very, very important. What is the property, around the surrounding? That should not be contaminated. So starting from production to shipping, sanitation. How is the sanitation? See, for the COVID, we all have become aware about this sanitation. So that is very, very important to look into the sanitation of the industry and the maintenance. Are they maintaining? Ek baar kar diya sanitize, uske baad maintenance nahi hai. So what is the idea? They have to be maintaining it. And then the sales also, that has to be looked into. So if we look into describe the product, one needs to not only know the product name, but the composition, what all are the ingredients, from where they have come, the end product characterization, how is the method of preservation, packaging, is it primary packaging or a secondary packaging? Packaging, is it for a consumer or is it a shipping packaging? How is the storage condition? Can we store it at the room temperature or a refrigerator or a freezing temperature? Distribution method, where it has to be distributed. What is the shelf life? Is it for 2 months or 3 months or 6 months or 1 year? The shelf life is very important. And special labeling. Is it for elders? Is it for children? Is it for some allergy problem? Does it have soya? Does it have wheat? So many things have to be looked into. So the identification is very important of the intended use. We should not have sensitive groups like elderly or infants or even pregnant, sick or immunocompromised. It is very, very important to check and write on the label what to whom we are giving. So details of all process activities, including inspections also, transport, every logbook one should have to have when was it inspected, transportation, how you have transported, storage, and delays in the process. Sometimes, there is the delay. Oh, tire puncture ho gaya, something small. And the transportation has taken more time. So that should be mentioned in the logbook. Everything should be recorded, because some product can go bad because of certain things. Inputs into the process in terms of raw material and output of the process. Sometimes aap dekhenge ki wastage hota hai bahut sara. Like packaging का wastage होगा, raw material wastage होगा, product in progress. So हमारा ये जो wastage है, वो कहाँ जा रहा है? That is also very, very important to see. It should be done by all members, and the validation of the flow diagram. हमने flow diagram तो बना लिया, एक बार जाके हमने process line देख ली, but हमें ये देखना पड़ेगा हमारी HACCP team को कि उसका validation है कि नहीं. Time to time go and validate the process, by the HACCP team, which is an expert team. We cannot have a HACCP team just like that. Observe the flow, process flow, the sample activities, interview them, interview your team time to time, so that the manager or the person will know what is happening. And routine operation, and go and have the, the surprise checks. So the contamination in the result of eating contaminated food, बहुत सारे हैं. जैसे फिजिकल में आप देखेंगे स्टेपल्स आ गए बीच में, कोई ज्वेलरी लेडीज है तो ज्वेलरी का पोर्शन, बाल आ गए, ग्लासेस आ गए, बैंडेज आ गया, या बायोलॉजिकल में तो मैंने आपको बताया ही कि बैक्टीरिया, वायरस वगैरह. एंड केमिकल में कई बार है कि क्लीनिंग सप्लाईज ही चली गई, छोटा पोर्शन, या सैनिटाइजर चला गया, पॉलिश चली गई. सो वन हैज टू बी वेरी, वेरी केयरफुल एंड विजिलेंट when all this is happening. So the benefit it will be to identify the HACCP program is to follow good personal hygiene guidelines, prevent this foodborne illnesses, avoid cross-contamination, how to wash. हम देखिए हमने कोविड टाइम में इतना सीखा कि हमें हाथ अपने कैसे वॉश करने. So that is very, very important. How to wash, how to rinse, how to sanitize food contact. मैंने तो almost grapes खाने ही छोड़ दें because they have so much of pesticides in them, and then washing is very, very important. And how to wash in 2-compartment sinks. And CCP is a key step how to prevent and eliminate them. So the important step in an industry is looking into the premises. पानी आपका कहाँ से आ रहा है? Because RO water should be there. Sometimes ऐसा नहीं हो कि RO water की supply नहीं आ रही तो चलो कोई बात नहीं, हमारा तो कावेरी water है या गंगा water है, हम इसको लगा देते हैं इस पाइप को. नहीं नहीं नहीं. Water is very, very important to look into. Transportation आपका जो vehicle है, that also should be very, very sanitized. जो हमारा मान लीजिए कि transportation हमने van ली है, हमने वैन में सामान डाल दिया लेकिन वैन ही क्लीन नहीं है. सो दैट इज ऑल्सो वेरी, वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. इक्विपमेंट का डिजाइन कैसा है, इक्विपमेंट का इंस्टॉलेशन कैसे किया है, एक्सपर्ट लोगों ने इंस्टॉल किया है कि नहीं, और उसका मेंटेनेंस, हाउ इज द मेंटेनेंस ऑफ द इक्विपमेंट. पर्सनल ट्रेनिंग, हमें अब जितने भी लोग काम करेंगे वहां पे हमको पर्सनल ट्रेनिंग देनी चाहिए. एंड पेस्ट कंट्रोल, बहुत समय में ऐसा देखा गया है कि फूड मटेरियल स्पेशली दिस कॉकरोचेस एंड ऑल दे कम इनटू द पिक्चर. So pest control is very, very important. And also one should get the pest control specialist and spray that, again, but spraying is very, very critical. So all these are critical points which has to be looked into. So what do you mean by GMP? GMP is something like standard set of principles which will give us hygienic practices, hygienic food, and industrial experience is a must. फ्रेशर को अगर हम ले लेते हैं तो भी हमें लोअर पोस्ट पे से फॉर एग्जांपल इट इज वेरी, वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू गिव देम experience or give them orientation. Based on the practical experience, one should be taken into an industry, and the foundation is a good HACCP program. So what do we mean by SOP, the standard operating procedures? Look into standard operating procedures.
Are you okay with it or you want to change it?
Please mute yourself.
अब तो नए वाले भी जो इंस्टॉल हुए ना वो भी चल रहे हैं, तो वो तो नहीं, ये नहीं सही हुआ. एक तो देखो मेन बिल्डिंग में 3rd फ्लोर में है, वो चल रहा है सही.
Madam, can you please mute yourself?
I will just unmute.
प्रोटीन सेंटर में भी हुए हैं, मेन बिल्डिंग में भी हुए हैं शायद.
Hello,
दोनों प्रोटीन
please
सेंटर में
mute.
हुए हैं, 2
Hello.
हुए हैं.
Please mute your mic.
So the
Mute your mic.
purpose
एक
बोले जा रही हैं, शीतल है कोई, आप उनका म्यूट कर दीजिए सिंह साहब.
Sheetal, off your mic.
So the purpose and frequency of doing a task, the description of the procedure, the paperwork, it is satisfactory or not. See, that is very, very important. At the end of the procedure, is it satisfactory or not? Everything should have a logbook. And what are the corrective action to be taken? So what is SOP actually? Say, you're writing what you want to do and do what you are saying and prove it. These are the 3 points actually. Say what you do what you say, and prove it. That is what is very, very important. Now, say for example, one takes a corrective action request. Something is going wrong and you want to correct it. You want to mend it during the process. So there is a form. They make a form which is called as a CAR form, which is corrective action request form, and have the instruction in that. The person will fill the form, say what is the deviation, use the evidence, objective evidence, why you have done this deviation. Has it prevented? Has the deviation prevented it or not? Has it recurred or not, reoccurred or not? Set a deadline and then again verify that yes, my correction has made it all right or not. So that check is very good. Then also look into the exterior of a building, the exterior and interior of the building, the design of the building, कंस्ट्रक्शन, लाइटिंग, वेंटिलेशन. इट शुड नॉट बी नो कि वो ऊपर से खुले हुए हैं तो सारा कंटेमिनेशन बाहर से ही आ रहा है अंदर. यू नो हाउ मेनी माइक्रो ऑर्गेनिजम्स आर देयर इन द एयर. बहुत सारी इंडस्ट्रीज में ऐसा देखा गया कि वो खिड़कियां खुली हुई हैं. सो ऑल दोस थिंग्स हैज टू बी लुक्ड इनटू. वेस्ट डिस्पोजल आप कहाँ कर रहे हैं और खाना कहाँ खा रहे हैं. जैसे एम्प्लॉइज हैं वो कहाँ खाना खाएंगे, वो भी तो आपको देखना पड़ेगा. वहां से तो कंटेमिनेशन नहीं आ रहा है. एंड सैनिटेशन फैसिलिटीज, equipment cleaning, sanitization of the building, and water quality and supply. Then हम ट्रांसपोर्टेशन का जो मैंने आपको बताया वो तो रिसीविंग से, स्टोरेज से ट्रांसपोर्टेशन देखा जाएगा. एंड मॉनिटरिंग प्रोसीजर्स टू चेक द शिपमेंट कहाँ से आ रहा है. एलर्जन प्रोग्राम इज अ मस्ट. बहुत लोग आजकल एलर्जिक है वीट से, ग्लूकन की वजह से. बहुत लोग एलर्जिक है पीनट से बिकॉज ऑफ aflatoxins, and you know so many people are allergic to so many soya products which has to be looked into. The pest control is very, very important. And then recall, my God, it's an alarm for a manufacturer if the product is to be recalled. So the product identification, locate the product, and returning of the product. Where is the recall system? Put it in the logbook. ये कहाँ हुआ है पहले तो देखिए. एक टेम्पलेट बनानी चाहिए रिकॉल की. एंड ये कहाँ हुआ है, कंट्रोल कैसे हम कर सकते हैं, कैसे हम इसे हैंडल कर सकते हैं, कहाँ पे सैनिटेशन की प्रॉब्लम आई है या कुछ और प्रॉब्लम आई है एलर्जन की, उसे हम कैसे रीवर्क कर सकते हैं, कैसे हम प्रॉपर लेबलिंग डाल सकते हैं ताकि लोगों को पता चले कि एलर्जन वाज देयर और सम प्रोडक्ट लाइक सम इंग्रेडिएंट इज देयर व्हिच इफ पर्सन इज एलर्जिक टू मे नॉट टेक, समथिंग लाइक दैट. Now metal contamination के लिए क्या कर सकते हैं कि one should have a metal detector. If a metal detector is there, it is a very good facility to check if metal contamination is there or not, and it can be removed immediately. Then critical points अगर हम biological system में सोचेंगे, एक तो temperature, time है, pH, ये तो सब है. Preservatives and also sensory observations are very, very important. हमेशा एक फैक्ट्री में या इंडस्ट्री में फूड प्रोडक्ट की जो है एक सेंसरी पैनल होना चाहिए. एज यू नो यू हैव इन अ टी इंडस्ट्री टी टेस्टर्स, इन बियर इंडस्ट्री यू हैव बियर टेस्टर्स. सो अकॉर्डिंग टू मी ईच फूड इंडस्ट्री शुड हैव टेस्ट पैनल. हमारे यहाँ CFTRI में वी हैव अ फुल कंप्लीट डिपार्टमेंट कॉल्ड एज अ सेंसरी साइंस. सो आपको एक डिपार्टमेंट रखना चाहिए या सेंसरी पैनल जरूर होना चाहिए. सो देन critical limit should be there, and one more critical limit to meet the ensure कि हमने जितनी भी CCP हैं वो कंट्रोल करी है या नहीं करी है. Make a process control sheet. Then supplier quality assurance is very, very important. So each vendor, check out with the vendor, how good is the vendor, what are his product specifications. हमने जो बोला है हमने उसको इंस्पेक्ट किया है कि नहीं. कई बार होता है आ गया मटेरियल, रॉ मटेरियल हैज कम, द मैनेजर टेलीफोन्स टू द पर्सन टेक्नीशियन कि आ गया रॉ मटेरियल, यस रॉ मटेरियल हैज कम, फाइन, बट यू हैव नॉट चेक्ड अप. चेक how is the raw material. So one has to take extra precautions. You have to be 101% sincere to look into the process. So the importance of verification is it will ensure the processing steps. It will validate and also give you continual improvement of the product. Internal audit is another point which is very, very important. ये जरूरी नहीं है कि हमारे बाहर से ही ऑडिट आए. हमारे जैसे CFTRI में, आई एम फ्रॉम CFTRI, वी यूज्ड टू हैव इंटरनल ऑडिटिंग प्रोसेस वेयर हमारे दूसरे डिपार्टमेंट से आ जाते थे. एक इंस्टीट्यूट ने ऑडिट कमिटी बनाई थी. And internal auditing should be there. So people know that you are doing your work properly. See their logbook, check out the experiments. Have an internal audit template is very, very important. And see the review. When are you going to review? Make a timetable. So that is very, very important. Record ingredients, batch processing, and the finished product formation. अब हम लेबलिंग के बारे में आते हैं. तो लेबलिंग में, प्रोडक्ट लेबलिंग में नाम होना चाहिए, इंपॉर्टेंट प्रोडक्ट कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स होना चाहिए, हाउ वी कैन यूज इट. हमें उसको गर्म पानी में अगर मान लीजिए MTR प्रोडक्ट है, सो दे से यू हैव टू जस्ट पुट इट इन वार्म वाटर और समथिंग लाइक दैट. सो हमारा टेम्परेचर कितना पानी का हो, कैसे उसकी पैकेजिंग, शेल्फ लाइफ होनी चाहिए, वेयर कैन वी सेल दैट, दैट इज ऑल्सो वेरी, वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. क्योंकि वो लिखा रहता है, आजकल काफी अवेयरनेस आ गई. दे राइट दिस कैन गो टू दिस स्टेट or this country. So where it can be sold, labeling instructions, special contribution control and specific ingredients. अगर हम अमेरिका में जाएं, इवन ऑस्टिन में, तो उन्होंने हैंड वॉशिंग का प्रोसीजर जो है एसओपी लगा दिया है अपने सब इंडस्ट्री के बाहर. सो आई थिंक ऑल फूड इंडस्ट्री शुड हैव एसओपीज व्हिच दे कैन पुट इट आउटसाइड. हैंड वॉशिंग, लाइक दे हैव सेड, इट शुड बी वॉश्ड नॉट विद अ सोप, टिक्की से नहीं. एक डिस्पेंसर लीजिए जिसमें आपने दबाया, सोप आ गया, नो कंटेमिनेशन फ्रॉम अदर पीपल्स हैंड, एंड द वाटर शुड बी ल्यूक वार्म, एंड उंगलियों के बीच में आप करेंगे और नेल्स को जो है एक ब्रश से उसको नेल में जितनी भी कंटेमिनेशन है उसको साफ करके, एक जैसे नैपकिन्स. नाउ इफ यू सी इन एनी होटल और एनीवेयर दे हैव दिस पेपर नैपकिन, सो उसमें कंटेमिनेशन नहीं आता. जैसे अगर हमने क्लॉथ का टॉवल ले लिया तो एक के बाद एक लोग कर रहे हैं तो कंटेमिनेशन आ सकता है. सो दिस थिंग हैज टू बी लुक्ड इनटू. खाना कहाँ खा रहे हैं, इफ देयर इज अ ब्रेक और मील टाइम है तो उनका एक अलग एरिया होना चाहिए जहाँ पे कि डिस्टिंग्विश्ड एरिया डेजिग्नेट होना चाहिए जहाँ पे कि खाना खा सकें. और फिर उस खाना खाने के बाद हैव दे वॉश देयर हैंड प्रॉपरली और नॉट. एक सॉर्ट ऑफ अ चेकिंग होनी चाहिए कि हमारे अगर अगेन दे आर गोइंग बैक आफ्टर द मील्स टू हैव द मेक द इंडस्ट्री सो द प्रोडक्ट, सो दैट हैज टू बी लुक्ड इनटू. So all these things, they come into standard operating procedures. Employees का खाना पीना, even the water drink, अगर वो पानी ये कुछ पी भी रहे हैं, it should be outside. Give them a allotted area where they can go and never into the working area. Even chewing gum, कई लोग देखा जाए स्पेशली फॉरेन कंट्रीज में वो च्युइंग गम मुंह में डाल के रखते हैं और वो खाते रहते हैं, चबाते रहते हैं. So that is not allowed. You go to another area, designated area, have that and then come back. Then equipment cleaning and sanitization. Equipment cleaning में भी ऐसा है कि आपको पहले इक्विपमेंट के सब पोर्शन को डिसअसेंबल कर लीजिए. इट इज नॉट दैट हमने सैनिटाइजर डाल दिया और पानी फ्लो कर दिया. उसको डिसअसेंबल करना बहुत जरूरी है. और हर एक को हम 2 सिंक और 3 सिंक में पानी में जो है वॉश करेंगे. जैसे पहले में सोप आया, उसको क्लीन करा. Water, again, water washing should be in another one. So all this can be done with quaternary ammonia, which is around 200 ppm is allowed, or iodine, which is 12 to 25 ppm allowed, or chlorine around 50 ppm it is allowed. So इस तरीके से आप किसी से भी क्लीनिंग कर सकते हैं, but it should get disassembled. आप जितने भी पार्ट्स हैं, इक्विपमेंट हैं, उनको अलग कर लीजिए और फिर उसको जो है उसकी सफाई करिए. तो एक ग्लोबल सेफ्टी फूड सेफ्टी इनिशिएटिव है which is called as GFSI. उन्होंने एक बेंचमार्क बनाया है. This was created in 2000 and where they said that all the retailers of 150 countries, they are with them and they represent all sorts of benchmark standards, HACCP programs and all that. So all this is required for the products which I told you. Site of the history, site of the management, workers health. ये भी बहुत जरूरी है कि हमारे वर्कर की हेल्थ कैसी है. हमने वर्कर तो रखे हुए हैं, अब वो बीमार हो गए, कह रहे नहीं मैडम हमको तो, या सर हमको तो कमी है, टेम्परेचर कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, बिकॉज दे डोंट वांट टू टेक लीव विदाउट पे. तो हमें उनका वो भी देखना पड़ेगा. वी कैन नॉट जस्ट लाइक दैट से ओके यू कैन वर्क, बिकॉज fever is caused because of the contamination of some bacteria or virus. So that can go into the system or to other people also. So we have to stop that. Waste and pollution management, environment and conservation, and traceability. हमें trace कर लेना चाहिए कि problem कहाँ थी. So that is the role of the manager कि trace करिए आप उसको. और fruits and vegetables के लिए propagation कहाँ से हो रहा है. जैसे मैंने आपको बताया soil बहुत जरूरी है. Irrigation का पानी कहाँ से आ रहा है. Fertilizers कहाँ से आ रहे हैं. Fertilizers में भी if you see in fertilizers also many times there is contamination of different pathogens. So fertilizer also should be tested properly. And the harvesting time, किस तरीके से ग्लव्स वगैरह पहन के हाथ में करिए या किस तरीके से हार्वेस्टिंग हो रहा है. And product handling is very very important. So if we are talking about traceability, हमारी कंट्री ने जो traceability adopt की है, they have looked into the EU standards and especially for grapes. मैं आपको बता रही थी grapes के बारे में. They have initiated specially for grapes in 2006 because grapes में क्या होता है, to have the grapes, lot of pesticides are sprayed, which makes it very unassuming to eat. And we take in heavy metals into our system. So that is very, very important. So if we look into the pyramid of a HACCP program, it has to be documented, verified, and audited. Principles of food hygiene based on Codex standards and the program of GMP practices, as I told you. So this goes into the pyramid of a HACCP system. So if we preview, the principles are the primary production, establishment, design, and facilities, control of the operation, establishment, maintenance and sanitation, personal hygiene, product information and consumer awareness, and training is a must. So if we look into that, so general guidelines and the HACCP program, a government should look into. These are the books which have been authored by me. The Making Food Safe and Free from Pathogens is a very good book if you people want to look into these food safety aspects. And then I have written on utilization of agricultural waste for the production of high-valued products, where I talk about the soil and soil contamination also, and how industries can look into that. Probiotics, which has been my research subject on the role of improving human health, traditional foods and nutritional security, and biofilms, where we talk about antibiotic resistance. So these are some of the pictures where, we have taught them how to look into food safety into different villages of our country. And we had this all India workshops when I was a rural program coordinator, where we showed them the importance of GMP practices, HACCP practices, and also empowered them with CFTRI technologies. These are the different technologies where they became, self-reliant, and so many newspapers, they had published it. And then these are the different felicitations. And thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts on HACCP programs and SOP. Thank you very much. So if there are any questions, I will be very happy to.
It was a very excellent talk by you, Dr. Renu.
Thank
We
you.
learned so many new things which we never knew. And we have broadened our knowledge. We are enlightened by your talk. It was so nice. And, I'm very happy to tell you that about more than 145 people came and went away from your talk.
Wonderful.
This is a record. This is a real record. I should clap for you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Now, I'll ask you a couple of questions.
Please.
The first one is, what is the most important step in HACCP?
Most important, see, we are talking about this hazardous. HACCP is what? And hazardous analytical critical control points. So it is very, very important to look into all the 7 principles. That is important.
It is the most important point.
Most important. And we should know the critical limit.
Yes.
It is not only the critical point, but critical limit. Beyond that, it should not go, because it is going to spoil the product.
So critical limit and HACCP is similar or different?
No, critical limit comes under HACCP.
Okay. It's a sub point.
Yes.
Right. I liked your monitoring of metals. Metals are very toxic.
Yes.
So you are able to monitor the metals. Is it very easy to monitor the heavy metals?
See, there are different methods also that you can get it in search. So there are very easy methods nowadays how one can do this analysis of heavy metals. Otherwise, as I told you, metal detector. If it's a metal just like that, one can detect with a metal detector. But if it has gone into the plant,
yes,
or it has gone inside, then one has to do the analysis.
AAS, right? AAS, atomic.
Yes. We have it in CFTRI.
Yeah, especially nickel, cobalt, iron.
Yes. Mercury.
Selenium can be done.
Arsenic, yes.
Arsenic. It has a graphite furnace. Graphite.
Exactly. Yes.
So you can do selenium and things like that.
Yes.
Arsenic.
Yes, I used to do for my products actually.
Okay. And one last thing, why do you need to create a flow diagram?
Oh, sir, that is a must actually. In case you don't make a flow diagram, you are not knowing the step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. And every step has to be monitored. Every step has to be validated.
Right.
Not only monitored, it has to be validated. So हर एक step बहुत जरूरी है.
Yes. So that's why you should create a flow chart and then start your experiment.
Yes.
Right.
I can
Very
see
nice.
some questions in the chat.
Yeah, please answer them.
Yeah, that's what I just see. 1 second.
Somebody wanted your slides, if possible.
That we will talk about it.
Later. Okay.
No, you have a YouTube thing, is it not?
Yes, we have.
So in
we have.
YouTube, they can get the whole thing, is it not?
Yeah, the whole
Yeah.
slides will be available.
So that is okay. In the YouTube, they can check.
I think that's better.
Yeah. One more question. I'm just trying to see
That's
what
better.
questions
Yes.
are. You can ask me from there. No, that is only mute. You would like to request the host to mute. Okay.
Okay, I can announce. If anybody wants to ask any question, please ask. Any questions? Mahajan, you can ask some question.
This was a very wonderful talk, sir. This is completely new for me. So I'm trying to absorb everything. When I heard so much is there that we need to be careful about in food industry when we are working.
Yes.
Each and every step that madam has mentioned has been
Right.
eye-opening for me.
Right.
So I was just thinking, I stay here in Maharashtra, Latur, in a remote village, and here a lot of people at home, they do a lot of household products they make for themselves. So when madam was telling that she has been into rural kind of thing, I was thinking about that aspect. How we make these people aware of all these factors. As a scientist, we know these are very important, critical things that we need to take care of every process. So how madam has been doing, so little bit that information I wanted, so that I can also if time comes, I can educate them.
Right. She
Yes.
explained so
Whatever
well.
I can do from my side.
She explained very well that we could understand the talk very well.
Actually, हमारे यहाँ तो CFTRI में we have got expert teams. So when I was a rural program coordinator, actually, my work in rural program was so much appreciated that I got extension after my retirement.
Yes.
And DG at that
That's
time.
really very important.
Yeah, and
Very important.
DG at that time, he made me a nodal coordinator of all the CSIR labs.
Very nice.
For food science and nutrition. So,
who was the DG that time, madam?
Dr. Brahmachari.
Brahmachari.
Yes.
Okay.
So, Dr. Mahajan, what I was trying to tell you was, what I used to do is, I used to have my expert team. See, I'm not expert in all the fields, but I became the rural program coordinator. So what I used to do is, I used to take my teams with my equipments and then go there and show them. Or sometimes we used to, as I showed you, that we did the all India conferences also. So we brought them to our institute, then they purchased our technologies and they got their equipments.
Very nice. Very nice.
कैसे होता है ना मैडम, जैसे गांव में कैसे है, they just take अभी SM what you call that MSME, so small household business, they do it at the home itself, and so that is where people might miss these all safety hazards. बहुत जरूरी है, तो मेरा मतलब वो
ग्लव्स भी नहीं पहनते, हमें ग्लव्स से शुरू कर, हाथ धोने से सिखाना शुरू करना है.
Right.
And the place where they do that manufacturing or small scale production, what they do, those all factors are very important.
Ji.
Means, do you visit to these remote village places, or do you arrange conferences? But these people will not be aware of, village people will not be aware of these all scientific things. So how you go about these?
एक्चुअली वही मैं बोल रही हूँ, या तो मैं बहुत ज्यादा एंथुसियास्टिक थी, या जब मैं CFTRA में थी मैंने तो काफी सभी विलेजेस को कर्नाटका के तो कवर कर लिया. So मैंने, that's why I'm telling you, Director TG were so happy, you know, that nobody was going around and trying to sort of, you know, empower them. So बहुत लोगों
That's
को
great.
empowerment मिला इस हिसाब से. I have done my
That's
bit.
really wonderful job.
और लेकिन अभी भी
That's
मैं आफ्टर रिटायरमेंट भी मैं इसी टाइप के काम काफी कुछ करती हूँ सोसाइटी के लिए.
Very good. Very good. Okay, if there is no more question, then I request Bhupinder to please say the code of ethics.
Thank you, sir, and thank you, ma'am. Today we all are very lucky to have Dr. Renu with us. Ma'am shared her vast experience with us. She discussed every single thing that need to be taken into consideration for food safety very precise. And thank you, ma'am, for giving us your precious time. This lecture is very informative and very amazing. I would like also to thank Dr. A.M. Desmukh sir and Dr. Saranjit Singh sir for organizing this wonderful panel talk. And we all are looking for some more such talk in future as well. And last but not the least, I would like to thank our audience as well, who listened informative talk given by Dr. Renu very patiently. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Bhupinder,
that's all for
we would like to thank you also because you conducted the meeting very well. We thank
Yes,
you
yes.
so much.
Thank you, sir.
And he
Thank
spoke
you.
such
Thank you
kind
so
words
much.
for me. Thank you, Dr. Bhupinder. Thank you very much.
Ma'am, I am not a doctor. I am a student, first of all, and it's my honor to present to you. It's my honor.
And thank you, Singh Saab. I think Dr. Mahajan has raised